whoa, where did it come from? I fucking hate that character. Destroyed a world. Shallow, prideful, tantrum throwing brat. How's it going, guys? This is Yatish and you're watching Yatish Tries. This time I tried a classic anime. Well, a modern classic. It's called Castlevania. And I fucking loved Castlevania. That's it. That's the review. Bye bye. Okay, fine. I'll speak in a little bit detail about it. First, I'll tell about the stuff I didn't like, and then I'll tell about the stuff I did like. There are particularly two things that I didn't like, and a bit of a rant that I'll get to later. So, the first thing that I didn't like much was the story. I'll say it right now. The story is kind of mid. I didn't feel like there were any particular, plot twist that made me feel like, whoa, where did it come from? Whoa, I never expected it. Nothing like that. It was a pretty simplistic story in simple words. There also wasn't really a big story arc that I care about. There were character arcs that I cared about, but not really story arcs. It was like having 5-6 different storylines which didn't really, come together properly. Not that there is really anything bad about it. The story works, but it's just a mid story. There isn't really anything exceptional about it. And that's really fine because that's not the main part of the anime. Well, it's not really an anime, by the way. Still, that's not the main part of it. Because I'd rather have you focus on the world and the characters. And speaking of characters, the second thing I hate is this one particular character. And I don't have to worry much about it. She comes in, I think, season 3 beginning. So till then, she won't come. Don't worry. I can't really explain in words how much I fucking hate that character. For no particular reason. It's her design and her voice actor. They make me hate her as much I hate Joffrey, but in like 2 frames. I was physically repulsed by this character. Like just her design. And then after a while, as I slowly got used to her, I thought I'd get used to her. But I didn't. I still hated her till the very last fucking episode. And I know that usually that would be a great thing to make the viewer hate a character this intensely in such a short frame of time. That would usually be a great thing. And I'll go in a bit of spoiler territory here. So if you don't want any spoilers at all, skip to this timestamp. The way her character arc ends is not at all satisfying. That's what makes me hate her, and it still doesn't work with her like it would be with many other characters. Maybe it's just me, but because of how much I hated this character, then for her to have the ending that she did, I think she needed more screen time. But if she had gotten any more screen time, I would probably have just, stopped watching the show. So I'm not really sure what to say about that. It's a very confusing thing. So, like in conclusion for this character, it's like a huge build off, but absolutely no payoff. It's like what I was expecting was maybe a Joffrey or Umbridge, but what I got is a fucking Cersei Lannister. And now comes a small rant about inconsistency. It's a very small rant, don't worry. It's not a big rant. There's this magic profession in the world called Forge Master. Two of the human characters, Isaac and Hector are Forge Masters of Dracula's army. They're basically necromancers, right? They can bring back souls from hell into dead bodies. They're highly sought after, and Dracula only has 2, right? So they must be somewhat rare. That's probably because you need a lot of trust in the Forge Masters, because the night creatures they create are completely loyal to the Forge Masters themselves. So if you give the opportunity for a Forge Master to create an army, but you don't trust him completely, he will betray you, right? Okay. So essentially what I mean is they are pretty rare, and you need to have Forge Masters to have night creatures. But there have been a couple of instances where some nameless vampires had night creatures working under them very methodically, not in the way that you would expect a night creature to work if their forge master had died or something, because they're just go on a big rampage, right? So these vampires somehow had night creatures working for them without any forge masters. It's like I get it. Okay, they needed some mob characters for the main characters to fight, but still, it's just a very small inconsistency. And of course, this is like very small, right? And that's the beauty of it. I only caught this inconsistency, and maybe it's not even inconsistency. Maybe it's just me misunderstanding something. Whatever. I caught this because there weren't really much like there weren't really many other inconsistencies. Hence, the small ones stood out to me. Anyway, now to the good parts about it, which is essentially everything else in the story. Let's start with what is often said to be the most crucial thing for a fantasy setting story, right? It's the world building, and it has an amazing world building in whatever scenes it shows and everything. It's everything in the way they concile science and magic. I fucking love that. It's like basically a post-apocalyptic version of this world, but magic was a thing, right? And I think it makes a lot of sense for a post-apocalyptic world to exist in a magic world, because no matter what kind of world there is, if there is magic, then some mad person will definitely try to destroy the world. We don't have magic in our world, and we still have some people like, almost hell-bent on destroying the world, right? So imagine magic in the mix, right? So it makes complete sense. Like in a post-apocalyptic world, humans would indeed forget about most of their technology, because at that time their main concern would be to live in their day-to-day lives, to survive, to find food. They won't really have the time to study the sciences and retain the knowledge. But vampires could. Vampires are naturally long lived, right? So they have the time to preserve the technologies because they know its importance, right? Technology is fucking important. You get like a some gun with some holy water inside it, and a vampire is dead meat. So of course the vampires will preserve the science, because it's a very important thing. As you know, like you know the wonders of science. I'm recording this with because of science, right? And hence I think the world building is good. Like as I explained, the magic and the science mix extremely well. Plus some of the location designs, like the cities and towns and all, are pretty good. I think that's something that carries over because of the games, right? Because Castlevania is originally based on the Castlevania games. Someone in YouTube did point out that the map shown in the Castlevania series is just like, it's a very bad map, inaccurate, and whatever. And it was also only shown for a single frame, like just one. I mean, not frame, one scene, maybe 50 frames or something, whatever. It was just shown for one time, and I think that is indeed the problem, because like why the story arcs don't really mesh together properly, because like for most of the time we don't really know where all the characters are. We know their location names, but we don't know in the grand scale of things, like in the globe, where exactly which point they are. So we don't really have a sense of distance between each other. We don't know which events are happening close to each other, which are happening farther. So we can't really form a mental map, and that's why the stories don't really connect. But that's not really a problem with the world building. I think that's just a, as I said, story problem. Next up, characters. And when I say characters, I mean the voice acting and the dialogue and design, everything mixed. And man, this has some of the best characters I've seen, like in a really long while. And I've watched a lot of things, right? So I would know about characters. I mean, just look at these. I'm sure you can see on the screen right now. Each one of these has a amazing design and a fitting voice acting as well as dialogues. The dialogues especially bring out their personality for us to see very clearly, like they display the personality. These characters are definitely the best part of the show. uh, each character is extremely interesting to follow, because each character, like almost every single character, has its complete story arc that you can easily understand, because it's almost in your face, but still it's fine. It's very well done. Do you remember Zuko from Avatar? Now take his character arc. Of course, none of the characters are at that level, but still, just a bit less than that. Because obviously, Zuko's character arc is like the best in maybe all of media history. If you disagree, you are wrong, there is no doubt. Still, below Zuko, Castlevania has maybe one of the best character arcs. Like, for example, let's take Isaac. We can see Isaac developing from a character who hates everything in the world, even himself and his own race, maybe except Dracula, he hates everything, to start growing to love the characters around him. Like, he meets some of those nice ones, nice humans, some of those shitty humans, and he grows. It's interesting to see Isaac getting more powerful as well as finding hope, such that at the end of the show, he does not want to kill all humans. That's progress, right? I'll preach the shit out of everyone, but I won't kill them. That's how Isaac became at the end. Meanwhile, Hector, he developed from a shallow, prideful, tantrum throwing brat to someone who sees things for what they really are and is willing to repent by the end of it. These are just two examples, obviously. These are, we obviously have the main characters who we see Trevor's arc, we see Sypha's arc, we see Alucard's arc. Obviously, Alucard arc was kind of paused for a bit, but still, it was still all good. The ending was really good. Yeah, now we come to the dialogues. These are really amazing in showing the personalities. Like, it's like the dialogues have the characters wear their personality on their sleeves, right? It's really consistent. It does have a sort of an adult swearing type of vibe, but I think it goes really well with a post-apocalyptic magic world. Now comes the action. Oh my god. This has some mind-blowing action. There are some of the scenes which are like straight up 5-6 minutes of action. There's no dialogue between them, just action, nothing more. Maybe it's because it's not an anime that we can actually get these proper fight scenes without any cuts and talk no jutsus and blah blah blah, whatever. It's just straight up like superbly animated, great choreography, including fight scenes. Is there anything else left? No, there isn't. All over, I'd like to say this gets a whole 9.5 out of 10. It's a type of show which you don't really have to think a lot about. You can just turn your brain off, enjoy the scenes, dialogue, character designs, blah blah, whatever. But if you choose to think more about it, you'll not regret it, because it is the kind of show where each character can show a different aspect of philosophy. I won't really go deep into it, it's up to your own interpretation, but it is pretty enjoyable no matter how you want to enjoy your media. As long as you don't hate gore and swearing, I think you'll like it. So definitely check it out. And thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe and comment whatever. If you watched the show, did you like the show? Just comment whatever you feel like. Bye bye.